Man, what is going on, guys? Thank you. Thank you very fucking much for checking out the podcast tonight. I definitely appreciate you guys stopping by and hanging out with us tonight. It is a wonderful Monday night to have a podcast, to get together, to talk about some pretty awesome ass things. Because there are some things that I want to share with you that were kind of on my mind. And I think it's absolutely important for people, especially in my industry. This is really the guys that I care about 100%. And also in entrepreneurship, when you guys have, when you learn something, you have an obligation to share it, whether or not people, agree with you, whether or not they think that, um, they can be critical of you, they can talk about whatever they want to say, but I think you have an obligation to share your life experiences with other people, so that way other people can have an opportunity to do what you've done and improve upon that and leave their mark also in this world. Which kind of brings us to the topic of discussion, right? I ended up, first of all, my boy Dave Fowler has been a phenomenal young man, when it comes to wanting to learn how to be impactful in people's lives. And so I don't think I honestly talk enough about Dave, because he's a pretty private person as it is, right? He's not, he doesn't do all the social media stuff and things of that nature. That's just not his thing, right? But this humble young man, I wrote him, this is like the fourth time I've written him a five-figure check in the last year. And probably the fourth or the fifth time I think I've written him a five-figure check in the last year. And 22 years old, he's got a fiance that he's been in love with for years. He is absolutely light years ahead of where I and most people were in our early 20s. This young man has his fucking brain so well plugged into the shit that is going to be necessary for him to enjoy the life that he wants to enjoy by the time he's 30. This young man is going to have that lock and fucking key, and I feel like it is my obligation at 37 to help show him the things that I have learned in the last few years. Whether it's 3 or whether it's 13, I have something that I may be able to share with you, young man, so that way you don't have such a long path to the end point. That's really what I care about when we talk about being impactful. This is what the fuck we're talking about. We're not talking about, you know, so what? Somebody made six figures. I've taught many roofing salespeople that have gone on to make six figures, and I have taught some that have continuously made six figures. I've taught some that have continuously learned how to be better fucking people and have strengthened and grown their marriages. And I've seen some people, the money just ruins them. The money ruins some people. That is a character problem. But tonight, I want to celebrate David Fowler, and just to first of all for doing what you've done, young man, at your age is phenomenal, and I commend you. I also understand, young Dave, that there are two things that you had to deal with, and I watched you deal with these things in your own life, and for months I have been cheering you on, and I have been paying so much fucking attention, to these two facets of your life, and I think that you've actually have a system in place to deal with them now. And it's, you know what, I wished somebody had this conversation, like I said in the description. I wish somebody had had this fucking conversation with me when I was in my 20s, man, because it wouldn't have taken me so damn long to get here, and that's the God's honest truth, right? If I would have had somebody that could have said, Dave, like, listen, let me break peep game, dog, here's what it is, right? And I've had many conversations where people started off and said, say, dog, let me holler at you for a minute. I've had plenty of those conversations, and them shits never end well. But now the conversation that I do wish people had with me was where they told me, hey, listen, young man, I've done it. Here's how I've done it. Here's the blueprint that I followed. Maybe you should think about following this blueprint too. I didn't have that conversation with people when I was in my early 20s. That's not what we were doing. But there's two things that I think are absolutely crucial. And there's these two things, two key critical components to fucking winning that I watched my boy Dave work on. And one of them is accountability. And we're going to talk about that really quick before you guys start bitching and moaning about, oh, here he goes, another personal development podcast. There's a reason why you're fucking broke. Okay. There's a reason why you haven't done the shit that you want to fucking do in life. There's a reason why you're still running around in the same small ass circles doing the same simple minded shit. Right. And it's because of attitudes like that. Here goes Dave talking about personal accountability and personal development and da 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 da. Remember the conversation we just had where I told you I watched people make six figures and their fucking marriages fall to shit? I've watched people make six figures and leave their wives, right? Abandon their kids. I've seen that is a character problem. And I'm telling you right now, if you are not prepared to deal with the money will break you. I promise you that. You cannot think that you are not going to be tested when you are rewarded handsomely. You will absolutely be tested. And that ties into number one. The definition of accountability is the fact. The Oxford Dictionary defines it as the fact or condition of being accountable. This is not a question. This is a fact. This is something that must and always will be. In the code book, they refer to this shit as shall. That's a shall thing. It must be so. The fact or condition of being accountable. In an adjective, it is used, the definition is expected or required to justify your actions. Can you justify what you did? Can you take your actions and explain them to an unbiased, neutral third party, and that person say, you know what? I understand exactly why you did. That is accountability. Okay, that is accountability. Being able to present yourself in any situation as being somebody who is accountable. You have to be able to face everything with fact. Whether it's yourself, you have to hold your fucking self accountable and have to look at yourself through the lens of fact. Quit telling yourself that you're better than you fucking are and admit that you have a shortcoming and deal with it. Hold yourself accountable. Can you be expected or required to justify those actions? I had for the longest part of my life, I had a huge problem with holding myself accountable for the things that I've done and for the shit that I didn't accomplish. Right? I could blame people all day long, and for the longest time, I blamed myself. For the longest time, I blamed, my lack of my relationship with my dad. I blamed that, I didn't go to college. I blamed that I didn't have, a good parenting life when I was growing up. A lot of shit, man. I blamed a lot of things until I realized that accountability was a real motherfucker. And eventually, you have to look at life through the lens of I might be the problem, and therefore I may be the solution, right? If you can't hold yourself accountable, who is going to see? This is the beautiful thing about accountability. This is the thing that I think a lot of people get misunderstood. They think accountability is just a record keeping of what you've done. It's not a record keeping of what you've done. It is a record keeping of who you are. Right? When somebody holds you account here, for instance, I'll say a rattlesnake. You don't have to hold a rattlesnake accountable to be a fucking rattlesnake. A rattlesnake will be a goddamn rattlesnake. It looks like a rattlesnake. It acts like a rattlesnake. If you get too close to stepping on it, its little tail starts moving around and it lets you know it's a rattlesnake. The rattlesnake will hold itself accountable for being a rattlesnake. You need to hold yourself accountable for not fucking with that rattlesnake. Okay. So accountability, you're going to have to develop this skill or this ability to hold yourself accountable. And then what, Dave? And then what? We've held ourselves accountable. And then what? Well, good. You know what? I'm glad you asked because the shit doesn't stop right there. After you hold yourself accountable for things, or you learn to hold yourself accountable, or you get to the point in your life where you can finally fucking admit that you have to be the person to hold yourself accountable, then comes part two. Then comes the kicker. Here's the toughest thing to deal with is the discipline. When used as a verb, the definition of discipline is to train oneself to do something in a controlled and habitual way. Okay, Dave. Now I have to train myself to do something in a controlled and habitual way. What does that mean? You know what? That probably means you're going to have to fucking carve some time in your schedule for that shit. You're going to have to make it intentional. You're going to have to say, hey, listen, I need to do something, right? I need to do A, B, or C. This is the hardest fucking thing for me. And I'll be honest with you, because I am in the probably the third or the second or third largest season of growth that we've experienced as a company. And it's a very uncomfortable place because I find myself being reactionary on a day-to-day basis, and that throws my schedule off. And dog, I don't like it when my schedule's thrown off, right? That's just not something that I fuck with well. So I try to keep a very rough schedule of what I have to do, but unfortunately, I don't sometimes have the fucking discipline to stick to a regimented and controlled and habitual way of doing things unless it comes to a couple of key aspects in my life, right? And maybe I got to hold myself accountable. That's because I don't fucking value these other areas of my life enough. There it is. I solved my own fucking problems in 12 minutes and 28 seconds. But you know what I did? I held myself accountable. I admitted if I cared about, here's the thing, I love going to the gym, and every day, with the exception of maybe 2 days a week, maybe, I'm going to the fucking gym. I will go to the gym in the morning. That is what I love to do. And I hold myself accountable, and I maintain a pretty strong sense of discipline to that. And you know what's fucking embarrassing? What's embarrassing is, as a business owner, I can have that sense of accountability and discipline over my physical fitness, but I can't consistently show up for my team 8 or 9 hours fucking straight and do what I need to do for them to get them to the place that they want to be in life 5 times faster. Now, as a business owner, can you do that every day? Probably not. If I'm holding myself accountable and I'm thinking like David fucking Taggart, yeah, absolutely you can. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be fucking hard, probably damn near impossible. But if you wanted to do it bad enough, the God's honest and the simple truth is you would make it fucking so. That is very, very hard to do. But you know what? It might be the shit that has to be done. And nobody's going to hold you accountable for doing the fucking work. Nobody is going to sit there in the darkness and look and say, "Oh, did you do it? Oh, did you fucking get it done today? Hey Dave, did you really do what you said you were going to do? Hey you, did you do? Hey Jackie, did you finish all the shit that you told people you were going to finish? Nobody's looking. You could always get up and do it at 3 in the morning. Nobody's gonna know if you don't do one more fucking rep in the gym. Nobody's counting your squats, Dave. Go for it. Fuck that. Yeah. No, but the fucked up part about accountability is you will know, and then you have to have the discipline to do shit to make a fucking change in your life. That's plain and simple. So I watched David hold himself accountable. I watched him and I have these conversations over time where we start talking about his accountability, and I start looking at his daily activity, and I'm reminding him, "Hey Dave, I love you. I care about you. I believe in you. I'm here to help you knock off your shit." Right? Because what did I start with? The first thing I told him was, "I love you. I care about you. I believe in you, and I'm here to help you. And knock off your shit. Let's get accountable." Now that we've been able to become accountable, let's create discipline. Let's start doing simple things repetitively until they become a very fine tuned part of our process. For some of the guys that are on the team right now, the discipline, the repetitive or habitual activity, they're focused on steps 1 through 4. Canvassing proper areas, finding good doors to knock, having great interactions and value propositions are exchanged with customers. And then they're executing on their closing system, which, you know what, in sales is basically, it's a pathway. It's a journey for a customer to go on to, but these dudes are habitual right now. They are filling up in the work that they've been doing in the last 6 weeks. We are building 1, 2, 3, probably, I don't know, three roofs a week right now. And it's a little stressful for us, right? That's a little stressful for us. It's a good problem to have. But they're putting in like these days like 3 new leads a day. So it's just like a fucking insane amount of growth right now. But these dudes are going into this period of their life with an extreme amount of discipline. And they know that, hey, if we're going to make this work 60 days, 45 days, 30 days from now, it's going to be a result of the shit we do right fucking now from April 1st to April 30th. We're going to see these paychecks in June and July. And they know this. So the discipline comes now. The accountability is the shit that I can't control. Right? I can give them the things or the tools. As a leader, you have an obligation to give the tools of discipline to your team. That comes in the form of coaching, time management skills, teaching them what to do with their fucking money, not just, throwing them out there to the wolves and writing them fucking paychecks and shit like that. Right, but teaching them about LLCs and teaching them how to do their taxes and setting them up with those people in your life that are helping you win. Bring them to the fucking table and say, here, dog, sit down right here. This is your seat at the table. And you show them a better way of doing it. And doing so, you will help build not only their discipline, but their ability to hold themselves to the discipline, because they see all the people around them are fucking winning at a very high rate of speed. And people love to fucking win. Ed Milet said, winning is more fun than fun is fun. I'm going to say it again to you. Winning is more fun than fun is fun. But if you're going to win and you're going to win at a high rate of speed, you need to be able to hold yourself accountable. If nobody's ever told you these 2 things, let me tell you, I am learning this for my fucking self right now in life. You must hold yourself accountable, even when nobody's looking. Never mind. I'm going to get onto that topic later. When nobody's fucking looking, you better hold yourself accountable, because if you don't, it will, number one, accountability is one of the things that you can't fucking escape. Number one. Number two, everybody loves to watch somebody fall over some shit. Holding yourself accountable sometimes means that you have to be aware that there is somebody waiting to hold you accountable for something. Somebody's fucking waiting. And you don't give them shit. Hold yourself accountable. Number one. Number two, develop a strong sense of discipline. Learn to do some shit in a habitual and controlled way. If you can block out the time and you can close the blinds and you can turn on the lights in your room and open your laptop and call the fucking leads, you can do that shit. You can do this habitually every day between 9 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. And when you're done calling the fucking leads, you put them down and you do that shit again tomorrow between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. You call the fucking leads again. Right? If you want to learn how to do something, you want to learn how to overcome objections, learn how to do it in a controlled and habitual way. So when you get an objection that's based either in time, need, price, or product necessity, you can you learn how to karate chop them shits right out of the air. But you're only going to get there if you develop the skills in a controlled and habitual way. Practice, repetition, one after another, steps 1 through 4. It's not fucking hard. I wish to God I had somebody when I was in my early 20s that would have told me, Dave, let me tell you the secret, son. Let me tell you the secret, young buck, to making all this fucking moolah. Let me give you the secret to being successful, to being able to change people's fucking lives. Right? The secret to being able to care about people passionately. Care about people passionately. If you want to change people's lives, you are going to need to learn how to hold yourself accountable first and develop discipline. Develop discipline and then use your discipline to learn shit, to read books, to study, to ask questions. If you want to do something in a controlled and habitual way, to develop the discipline, That's every day putting the time in to call the leads, every day putting time on your schedule to spend with your spouse, every day putting time on your schedule to talk with your team and to ask them what you can do for them. That's every day spending time on the floor intentionally playing with your son. Put your fucking phone down. I got to do that this evening for about an hour. I had to remind myself 2 times to put my fucking phone on the counter. Tough, hard to do. When you open up them, when you're running a business, hard damn thing to do, right? But my son, 11 months old, doesn't care about my business right now. He don't give 2 shits about that. And I have to hold myself accountable. My son don't care about my roofing company. My son cares about CoComelon and he got a little metal tumbler today that looks like my tumbler. It's got a little straw in it and shit. He cares about CoComelon and that fucking tumbler. I'll tell you that right now. That's what my son cares about. I have to hold myself accountable to my son as well, while also maintaining my discipline to make sure that I get that phone call back. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dave Taggart. I am the motherfucking roof poppy, and I am your favorite roofer's favorite roofer. I'm really appreciative, appreciative. I don't even think that's a fucking word. I'm really appreciative for you guys hanging out with me tonight. Again, 2 things that I think I wished somebody would have told me a long time ago is that I was going to need to develop accountability and discipline if I was ever going to be able to do shit. And I think that is something that I really firmly believe that we should all be responsible for, not only teaching our children's accountability and discipline, but also the people that are closest to us that we love and care about in our own lives. Again, I'm Dave Taggart, the motherfucking CEO of A5 Roofing. I am your favorite roofer's favorite roofer, and I'm out.